Glendale here, the chapter goddess. I am a mom, author, blogger, freelancer, podcaster, producer, and overall creative. With this show, I really want to focus on creatives and bring their authentic self to life. How are they motivated to pursue their passions? What have been the struggles along the way? Does self-care play an important role in who they are today and how they connect with the creative flow? Bringing one's authentic self to the forefront is important in this world that we live in currently. Sharing your self-care, your tips, and how you stay on track for things without losing it completely is also important. Self-care is not talked about enough, and authenticity and self-care are what I like to highlight with my creatives, as well as getting to know them. So get ready for a fun and entertaining show. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get ready to meet this episode's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Chapter Goddess Chat. I have an exciting author for you guys to chat with and meet today, and I'm even more excited because she is a horse person and kind of on the different cusp of the horse world than what I've grown up with. But this is going to be a great conversation, you guys. So hang tight and get ready for some fun. And allow me to bring our guest in. So go ahead and tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about who you are and some of the stuff you've written.
Well, I am author Sasscer Hill, and right now I'm living in Aiken, South Carolina with my husband and a dog and a cat. I've written almost a dozen books. A couple of them are novellas, and then I also have an additional 2 short stories that are published. But they all have in the background horse racing and the kind of skullduggery that goes along with the huge amount of money that's in that industry. There's a lot of cheating, there's a lot of crime, but there's a lot of faith and hope and loving of the horse and taking good care of the horse along with the people that don't. So it's just a huge background for good storytelling.
Yes, we've got a couple of people joining us today in the chat, and Facebook is not giving me your name, guys. So you'll have to make sure the settings allow them to show your name. So Sasscer, how did you go from writing and working with thoroughbreds all the time to writing stories?
Well, I started writing when I was very young. Well, not that young. I was in the 5th grade, and I remember our teacher told my class to write something, a little story, and everybody was horrified, like, oh, no, I don't know how to write a story. I remember one guy wrote, well, I got up this morning, I brushed my teeth, I went downstairs, I had breakfast, and I'm like, oh, no. But I had been reading the Black Stallion books by Walter Farley, and I wrote a little snippet of about a man in a horse trailer with a racehorse behind and a young man, very much like Henry Dale and Alex Ramsey that were in the Black Stallion books. And I don't remember what I wrote, but there was a problem. Something was wrong, and there was a moment of tension. And afterwards, my teacher made me read it out loud to class, which was horrifying.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget, because all these kids in my class, including the little boys who are very not into little girls, raised their hands. And I looked at them and I said, what? Because I couldn't imagine what they wanted. And they said, what happens next? And, it just, even now, I could almost cry thinking about that, because there is nothing more wonderful for an author than to hear that somebody wants to know what happens next. Because if they are not interested in turning the page, you're dead. You're finished.
So it's like a calling that was basically just, you were natural at it then.
I was very lucky. I wasn't a natural anything else except for riding horses and loving animals, but everything else, math, all those kinds of things, the sciences, they were all very difficult for me, and I was never good at that stuff. But I was very lucky to be a natural writer, so I'm very thankful for that.
That is awesome. So, what are some of your favorite pieces that you've written? And I know this probably like one of the most difficult questions to answer because you've put out so much.
It is hard. It's very hard. And one of my favorite books is the first one that I ever got published. I wrote a book. I had one book that I wrote called Heart of a Winner, and I'd never taken any classes in mystery writing. I had not had any formal writing classes outside of college. And I had no idea what I was doing. And that book still is in a drawer where it belongs because it was terrible. I mean, there were some great parts of it, some scenes that were excellent, but overall the book was dreadful. But somehow I got an agent, and he sent it out to all these New York publishers, and it was a nightmare because they all wrote rejection letters, and he sent me the letters. And they were so horrible. I spent 5 years feeling sorry for myself. I gave up. I thought, I can't write. Poor me. And finally, I got my act together and took some courses in mystery writing. And I wrote one book, and it was nominated for both an Agatha and a McCavity Award for Best First Book, which was incredible. Is amazing to me. But I had the ability. I just had to have the guidance. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know what a story arc was. I'd never even heard of the word story arc. I mean, that's how ignorant I was. So, it was just, of course I couldn't write a good book the first time out.
Yeah. And we've got, someone left us some emojis. So.
Well, that's nice.
No heart. I would love to know who you guys are. So maybe write your name and send it as a comment. I know because Facebook is, I don't know what's going on with Facebook right now, but.
Yeah. I'd like to know too. But anyway, so my favorite book, of course, is Full Mortality, which is my first published book that did do well. So that series, the Nikki Luttrell series, it's a 5-book series, mm-hmm. and there's been nominated for a lot of awards. It was always shortlisted. It's so hard to win. I didn't win a really big award until I got a 2-book deal with St. Martin's Press.
Ooh, yeah.
Which ended up being very disappointing because the marketing and sales department at St. Martin's did not want to take on this book, but my editor insisted and fought, and I wrote this piece about how American Pharaoh, remember he won the Triple Crown, he broke a 37-year drought. I wrote an article and sent it to them about how everybody in America was excited about American Pharaoh, and he'd been in the news, and he'd been on the cover of all these big magazines, blah 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 blah, and all these people in the U.S. love horses and da da da. I had all this statistics, so that they took me on, but as they had expected, and as they had told my editor, the book didn't sell that well, and they did nothing to push it. They did nothing.
That's what I was wondering.
So when it didn't sell well, they dropped me like a hot potato, and it was a 2-book deal. But the first one, even though it won the Ryan Award, which is a $10,000 book award for the best book in horse racing literature, which is, I mean, if you win an Edgar, you don't get any money, but if you win the Ryan Award, you get $10,000, and that's a huge award.
Yeah.
And they didn't care. St. Martin's didn't care. They only read, and they're not in the business of charity. They're in the business of making money. And my book was not a Girl on the Train or one of those. And so they dropped me like a hot potato, and that was extremely disappointing. But this time I didn't give up. I wrote another book, and it did well as self-published. Now I'm self-published because I'm never going to try to go back to a publisher and an agent and all of that. It's just not, it's just a lot of, it's just as much work because the publishers make you do everything now. So why would you let them take 90% of the profit? Yeah, that's what they take. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So why would you do that when you can self-publish? And obviously you won't get a what am I trying to say? A down payment on the book, which, with St. Martin's, it was good. I got $7,500 for each book, which was nice.
Yeah.
But, the days of $50,000 advances are long gone unless you're, Michael Connolly or somebody like that.
Real. You have to be extremely lucky to get those. And then you still have to market. Like,
Yeah.
it's like the big publishers, excuse me, they don't market your stuff anymore. And I feel like that's something a lot of newer authors don't realize until they're already in the thick of it.
Yeah. And they're desperately trying to get an agent, and they get like 40. I had 40 rejections from agents before I got my first agent. And then they got 40 rejections from publishers before we got our first publisher. I mean, and that lost me 3 years. And I remember there was a different editor at St. Martin's Press that asked for an exclusive and sat on the book for a year and then rejected it. That was another book, a different book, and that's typical.
I'm furious. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it is infuriating.
Oh, and our viewer is Aaron. He's watching us, and then he said to your, wow, that's huge, talking about your accomplishments and your awards. So
well, thank you, Aaron.
Oh my gosh. So I'm gonna have us shift gears a little bit, and let's talk about your recent release. It's it's gonna be releasing next month. Sorry, Murder at the Wilcox, right? Hotel.
Yes, Wilcox Hotel, which is actually modeled on the Wilcox Hotel right here in Aiken, which is a 5-star, really well-known hotel. People come here to play polo and to play golf. It's a big horse town, Aiken is. So there's a big horse industry here, which is one of the reasons I moved here from Maryland, where I had the racehorses and had the farm and had all of that. And I left it, because the taxes and everything there were really high. And I moved to South Carolina, where you can afford to live. It's great.
That is great. Yeah. And you still, you don't have your horses with you anymore?
No, I lost everything in 2008 when the housing market went upside down.
Yeah.
And also the horse market in Maryland, the racehorse market tanked for a while. I won't bore you with why. It came back, but it tanked right at the right time for me. It tanked right during the housing.
Tanked all the way across the horse market. I remember that. So, because I grew up barrel racing and everything, so I kind of have a little bit of thoroughbred knowledge, not as much.
Yeah.
But
you know all about speed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Kind of like friends have liked to say I'm an adrenaline junkie. Now I don't get to do it as competitively because I've had a couple of head injuries, so it's just like Western pleasure, chill level kind of stuff now. But yeah, the horse market definitely tanked about that same time. Yep. Yeah. Oh man. So since you moved and everything, and you've got a house now, and you're in a better living, well, not really, I'd say better, but you're in a horse town, you're still kind of connected to it. Have you had more inspiration there compared to when you did before?
Not really, because before I had the horses and I could put my hands on them every day, and I was riding them, and I was galloping them in the back 40, and I was putting them on trailers and taking them to various racetracks in Maryland, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. And when you're that hands-on, it's constant. It's constant. Somebody's coming. I see that someone has opened a door. And someone has closed a door.
Yeah, he's being nosy, though. He's grounded from electronics right now. So most authors are lucky to break even, so that's impressive.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, man. I feel you on like losing a little bit of the inspiration from being separated from horses, because we don't have any here. They're still at my parents' house, and they're all kind of in their 20s. I'm like, where did the time go? So, oh gosh, yes.
It flies away from you pretty quick.
It does, yes. So with the different mysteries and everything, what are some of the most random things you've pulled in for your stories?
Oh, random things pulled into stories. Let me think about that. random. That reminds me of when I was standing on a street corner with my girlfriend and we wanted to get a picture of us. And she said, oh, look, there's a random guy coming towards us. So I went up to him and said, hey, random guy, would you take our picture? And he did. But you do pull things into stories that are kind of odd. And one time I didn't have quite enough stuff to put in a book. And my writing instructor who was teaching classes for mystery writing said, why don't you get, an old black derelict man, maybe a drunk or somebody but he's really interesting and pull him into your story. And I did. And he became a great character in 2 or 3 of my Nikki Luttrell novels.
Yeah.
His name was Mello. And
Ooh.
I pulled him into the book, and he had the second sight. He sort of could see things, and he could warn Nikki when there was danger. So it made it more fun, and it certainly filled out the book nicely. Filled out the book well.
Sweet. I like that.
Yeah, you have to look for things to fill out because sometimes you're just running, you just don't have enough stuff in your book.
Yeah. Kind of throws in a twist like that.
Yeah, you have to throw in those twists, and you have to think about your own life and things that suddenly startled you and shocked you and surprised you. And, you have to remember what those things were and pull them into your stories. Just pull them right on in.
Yeah. When it comes to creating the stories, what is your writing process like?
Well, I do a little bit of plot work first because if you don't, I don't believe in being a pantser because, but I don't do a complete plot. I know some people spend 3 months doing a plot and then they start writing the book, but I can't do that. I like to get an idea of where I'm going and come up with some characters that are interesting and maybe like I'm working on one right now, and I know it's a murder mystery. It'll take place at Saratoga, up at the races there. And I know who the murderer is. I know who gets murdered. I know why. And I've developed a little subplot with the groom from Venezuela who is being abused by the trainer that he works for, and how my heroine will take care of him and look out for him, and also be completely alarmed and freaked out by the murder that takes place close to her, but work with her friend to solve it, the murder. So those are the kind of, I love to have a little subplot. It's nice to have a little something on the side that ties in with the main story. It's got to tie in. So maybe this groom, maybe he knows the murderer. Or maybe the murderer works close by, and because of that, my heroine gets to overhear something. Those are the kind of little things you pull together to make it work.
How do you keep track of all the characters you use?
You write it down. And I know I was, when I started this book, I thought, no, wait a minute. What about, the trainer's name is, what is his name? See, this is the kind of thing that gets you into trouble. And then you have to go back to the last book you wrote. You have to look up the trainer. You have to make sure you got his name down, and what did he look like? What was he like? Well, he's older, but he's strong, but he has gnarled hands, but he's a real horseman. And, and you have to, then I also pull out some of the things that he would say and how he would act. And I put all that in I always have a little file called plot and characters. In every novel I write, that's when I start out. I have a little file that says plot and characters. So I know that this trainer, I can just go there and see, oh, that's what he looks like. And that's how he talks. And yeah, that's right. His fingers are gnarled and he's older, but he's strong like an oak. He's bent, but he's strong like an oak. And I remember those things, and you write them down and you pull them back into the story, and maybe you write it a different way. You don't want to say the exact same thing that you did in the previous book, but you can use it. You can find a different way to say it. And that's how you do your characters from previous novels. You pull them all in, you go back to plots and characters of previous books, and just go put the guy's name in to find, and there they are, and they come right up, and you just put them in your new plots and characters. So that's how I take care of them and keep them straight, because otherwise I'd go crazy. I mean, I really would.
It's a lot to keep up with characters, especially in series. Do you keep
Yeah.
them written in like a notebook, or do you keep a document on the computer?
Document. It's all in Word documents.
That is the easiest. Just plug it in, pull it out. Yes.
Yeah. Find what's his name, and there he is, or there she is.
Cool. Do you do that with the horses that you use in the
Oh,
story?
yes. What are the names of the horses? What do they look like? Like in the book I'm writing right now, because these two horses have been in two of the novels. One is named Repudiate, and one is named Platinum Pearl. And Platinum Pearl is a chestnut. It's got a beautiful white blaze. She has a velvet nose. She always has inquisitive nostrils, and she's very interested in her owner, Janet Simpson, who's the heroine of the book. And she's close coupled and like a typical speed horse, and she is a speed horse. And then the other horse, Repudiate, he's longer. He has a long barrel and longer legs, and when he puts his neck down, it stretches out longer, and he's more of a distance horse. And so far, the two of them are both 2-year-olds, and they've been in training, and they've worked together, and it's just as you might expect. Platinum Pearl, who's a speed bomb, gets out of the gate on top, gets ahead of Repudiate, runs around in front of him, but as they get closer and closer to going the distance, Repudiate's catching up. He's catching up, and at the wire, he's ahead. And but Janet is very pleased to see that Platinum Pearl doesn't give up, that she digs in and is fierce on the distant horse's heels. She's not giving up. So those are the kind of things that you do. You put, what do these horses look like? What kind of horses are they? What are their names? What are their habits and their personalities? Because if you've had horses, they have as many personalities as a human. They're as different as any human.
Oh, yeah. That is so true. Some of them get cranky before, especially if you're prepping them for a race or something.
Yeah.
So,
And I had a horse that had a sense of humor. No question he had a sense of humor. I would be looking for a lost halter that was out in the field. And I remember one day he leaned down in the dirt and he picked it up, and he was kind of wagging it or nodding his head and putting the halter up and down. And he was like laughing at me, because here it is, nah, nah, nah. And then he dropped it again and turned and ran off in the other direction. I'm like, I'm not sure where that halter is. It's just, they do have their personality. Some are very nervous and flighty, and some are laid back and staid. I mean, they're just like people.
Yeah, that is. And a lot of people, if you guys listening, if you don't have experience with a horse, just go out to a stable or go volunteer at a horse stables, because I know there's a lot of therapeutic riding stables around where I am right now, and they're always taking volunteers. You can see the personalities, and you can see them come out, especially when kids and volunteers are working with them. So
definitely.
Yes. And I love that you've got this in your stories. It's amazing.
Yeah. You couldn't write about horses and not have it in your stories, because it wouldn't be accurate. I mean, quite simply.
Yeah. So with writing and keeping up with new stories coming out, new ideas, how do you take care of yourself mentally? Do you have a self-care routine?
Somebody's back. He is so cute. How old is he?
He's 5.
Oh my God, he's precious.
Okay.
You're a lucky lady.
Okay. We'll be done soon. Go. No, because I don't know where Daddy put it. Go. Yeah, he's a mess.
He's really good, though. Actually, he's not shrieking and having a fit by any means.
Sometimes he does. Knock on wood, this is a good day. But yeah, tell me a little bit about how you keep your sanity when it comes to writing and sticking with, do you keep deadlines?
I make little deadlines, but I don't try to stick to them, because I would go crazy. I walk my dog. And I have a little yoga mat on the floor at the base of my bed, and every morning I roll right out of bed and I do stretches and little exercises, and then I start my day, and I'm like grounded.
Mhm.
I'm grounded, and I feel like, okay, I can do this. I can still exercise. I can, because I'm getting older, and I still can take my dog for a walk. And Aiken has a wonderful Aiken dog walking group. And sometimes we have as many as 40. One time we walked the new course at the, they built a beautiful new steeplechase track here, and it's gorgeous. And we walked the course, and there were 100 dogs with their people there. And it was so much fun. It was really fun. So we usually have 20 to 30 people out, and we go once a week, and that keeps me sane. It's really fun to see the same people and see their dogs and everybody. We have time to socialize and chat. And, things like that are great. They really do help. I would ride if I could, but I'm older and I have a bad back, and it's just not. It's just not going to happen. It's just not. So you do what you can with what you've got.
Yeah. Oh, nice. So with keeping that kind of in mind, your self-care and stuff, what do you think, or what do you feel like was the biggest challenge you've faced in your writing career, or some of them? I know you've probably had several instances where you've been challenged. Go ahead and share some of those stories with us.
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, probably was when that fellow sent me all those rejection letters from all those editors. And that just absolutely devastated me. I mean, because they would say things like, oh, she's just chatting about this stuff, and I'm tired. I don't care about hunting clothes that she wears to go fox hunting, and it's just all stupid and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh. I mean, some of them were just nasty.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really hard to get over. Really hard to get over. I guess the challenges are trying to get one of the biggest challenges is trying to do the marketing. That's very hard work. And sometimes it gets very technical, and you have to stick with it. Mm-hmm. I do Amazon ads, and that's kind of tricky sometimes. And then let's see, Instagram, you have to try to keep up with Instagram, and you have to keep up with Facebook, and all that stuff, and it just never stops. It's constant. So that's a challenge for any writer. They have to do their own marketing. They have to do their own networking. And you want to look good. You want to try to look good and make yourself appealing to people, because I think if you just look like, I'm not sure how to put it, something where you really don't give a good goddamn what anybody thinks about you, then they probably won't think a good goddamn about you. I mean, you have to show people that you care about them. You have to show them you respect yourself. You have to show them you respect their opinions and what they think. And all of that's really important. And that's a challenge, to make sure that you're always on top of that. It's just, there's so many challenges if you're a writer. Not giving up is a challenge. I mean, recently I've been thinking, I'm not making much money, and this is really hard work, and maybe I should just quit. But then I go, no, I don't want to quit. I'm making enough to pay the light bill, and here's the thing that keeps you going. A girl I know who wrote a book that was good enough that she became a writer for Amazon, and she got a $90,000 payment for one of the books she wrote. But it was just one of those. They did a perfect thing that looked just like a Lee Child Jack Reacher cover, and they put it out there right at the right moment, and she wrote just the right thing. And after that, she never did well at all. But she did do well with that and a few other things. By not doing well at all, I mean she never got any more $90,000 payments.
Okay.
She did okay. She did it certainly as well as I was doing, if not better. But she wrote me, and this is what keeps you going. She wrote me and she said, I read your book X. And she said, I was having a really hard time. I was going through a really rough time. And your book got me through it. And I'm almost in tears just trying to tell you that, because that's what keeps you going. And I get a lot of that. I get emails and Facebook comments from people saying, don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop. Keep going. And I'm like, but I'm tired and I'm not young. But, you know, you got to keep going. I mean, what else are you going to do? Give up? No, you can't give up. That's stupid.
Yeah, I agree. And you definitely have to love what you're doing to keep doing it. So
yeah, you do. You do.
Yeah.
Definitely. Most definitely.
And for you guys watching, I don't think I put this up here. Here are some of her books if you want to check them out. They are available on Amazon. Some great covers. So, yeah. Well, Sasscer, go ahead and tell our listeners and viewers where they can find you and where they can follow you, as well as grab copies of your books.
Well, I'm at, just go to sasserhill.com, and remember that it's SASSCER, hill.com. And then you can do a /books, and all my books are there along with all the buy links. And all my books are available on Amazon. They're available on Barnes and Noble. The ebooks are available everywhere. I use Draft2Digital for all the ebooks, and I use Amazon to print the paperback copies. So they're all out there. They're all available. They're easy to get. They're not expensive. For instance, I have one called Racing from Evil. That's a really fun story, and the paperback's $8, and the ebook is $3.99. I mean, how can you go wrong with that?
Yeah.
And the novellas are, I have a number of novellas like that, and they're all $3.99. And then I usually sell the longer books for like $4.99, $5.99 for an ebook. And, you know, you price your paperbacks at whatever you think the market will bear that's fair. I mean, what else can you do? So that's where you find me. I'm on Facebook. I have an author page, and I have a regular page. And Facebook, you can just look for Linda Sasscer Hill, LYNDASASSCER Hill. That's my regular page. I've got 5,000 people on there. And then my author page is just Sasscer Hill.
Oh, I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. This was fun. And I love your little boy. He's adorable.
Thank you. He is a mess. And you guys, before I go, I want to mention today, this episode is sponsored by Creative Edge. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. We will see you guys next time.
I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to get future notifications when shows come out. Also, be sure to check out my website. I have a blog featuring this creative with some other fun and interesting questions. You can also subscribe to my newsletter there to stay up to date with all things the Chapter Goddess in Madeline Dale. Once again, thanks for watching, and have a great rest of the day.